Hello, this is Paranormal Girl, and today I'm going to talk about some bizarre cases of the Men in Black caught on film. For just about as long as the UFO phenomena has been around, there has been the complementary anomaly known as the notorious Men in Black. These phantom figures have long been reported to threaten and stalk certain eyewitnesses, or those with insider knowledge of UFOs, usually warning them away from sharing what they have seen or know, and always freaking them out. Reported from around the world, the Men in Black are typically most universally described as being individuals, usually male, dressed in black suits or trench coats, often with sunglasses, on even at night, mostly at least a bit odd looking, and always displaying extremely bizarre behaviour and mannerisms. And this is a phenomena which my fellow mysterious contributor, Nick Redfern, has covered in far more detail than I intend to go into here. However, what has always intrigued me are the times when these frightening and creepy spectres have actually been allegedly photographed or even filmed. And there are actually a few cases where this has allegedly happened. This is what I plan to delve into here. So let's take a look. Perhaps the earliest and best known purported image of a man in black comes from 1968 in Jersey City in the United States, where a UFO researcher named Jack Robinson lived with his wife Mary. The couple began to notice something strange going on when they would come home to find their house seemed to have been searched or rummaged through, ransacked even, and especially their files of the UFO phenomena, although there was never any sign of forced entry or burglary. Shortly after this, Mary claimed that she began to notice a peculiar stranger dressed all in black and wearing sunglasses lurking and loitering about the area of their apartment, who could sometimes be seen staring up at their window. This was all spooky, to be sure, and it creeped out the couple that a friend told of theirs. Tim Green Beckley talks about what was happening. My esteemed colleague Nick Redfern, an expert on the MIB phenomenon and the author of numerous books on the matter, including The Real Men in Black, talked about this stranger and what happened next in an interview with New Dawn magazine, saying, Mary said he had an unsettling look on his face, kind of unemotional and zombie-like. Mary happened to mention this to Tim and Jim, and because the guy appeared 3 days in a row, they decided to drive over early one morning and see if they could see the man in black for themselves. Sure enough, he was there, staring ahead, with the black sunglasses, long black coat, and enigmatic stare. Beckley allegedly came by one day when the enigmatic man was prowling about and managed to capture a photograph of him before he sauntered off and was gone. Although it's inconclusive to say the least, the resulting photograph is believed to be one of the first and clearest photos of one of the alleged Men in Black. What does this picture show? Is this really one of the Men in Black, or just a guy in black clothes hanging out on the street? It's hard to say, and the authenticity of the photograph has been much discussed in the UFO circles. And here is the photograph, and you can see the man here, dressed all in black, staring out into the street at nothing in particular. And he does look a little strange here, very much out of place, and not doing anything in particular really. Perhaps even more impressive than this is a purported piece of video footage that is said to show two of the Men in Black, which surfaced in April 2012 from the Aerial Phenomena Investigations team, The incident allegedly began at a hotel in Canada when the hotel manager was approached by one of his bellboys, who seemed to be rather unsettled about something and wanted to talk in private. He then claimed that two mysterious men in black suits and trench coats had approached him, and he told the manager. "Something really weird happened here yesterday, and you weren't here. There were a couple of guys looking for you. Well, this is really hard for me to say, but they were a couple of really strange looking men that were here, and they kind of freaked everybody out, and they were asking questions about you. And I said, I'm sorry, he's actually not working today." The bizarre strangers were described as being very tall and of exactly the same height, with very pale skin and generally looking odd. It was also noted they appeared to have the same face, as if they were twins. The bellman claimed that the two strangers had not seemed to really believe that the manager wasn't in at the time, and proceeded to look around the premises and question other employees. With one other hotel staff member who was approached, saying of them, "They asked some questions about you. They said strange things that I didn't understand. And they were talking about governments and conspiracies, none of which made any sense to me. But they were very, very scary. They had no facial hair, none. They had no eyebrows, no eyelashes, nothing. Their hair looked like they'd had a wig on, like it was attached to their hat, like it wasn't even real. And the scariest thing, their eyes were so big and so blue that they almost hypnotized me a little bit. These men, they didn't blink. Not once did I see them blink." The hotel manager was a bit disturbed to hear all of this, but was still skeptical about the whole thing. He claims that he did go through the security footage to check it out and found exactly what he'd been described, with two strange men dressed in black entering the hotel through the front doors. It's footage. Is this footage the real deal? And if it is not a hoax, then who are these mysterious gentlemen and what did they want? Were these really the legendary Men in Black? We will probably never know. Here is still of the hotel lobby and the two very strange men in black, all dressed in very old-fashioned clothes, if you notice, wearing what looks to be 1950s suits and very much out of place. And look at the hats. Very pale skin. Yes, not the kind of thing I'd want to witness, that's for sure. Even more recent in a case of supposed photographic evidence of the Men in Black that came out in 2014, according to UFO Grid report. In the report, two witnesses came forward to tell the tale of being harassed by the Men in Black in New Orleans, Louisiana. One of the witnesses was identified by an alias Jack Smith, now in his 50s, who claims that he had been relentlessly stalked by a pair of mysterious entities wearing identical black suits his whole life, which he surmises was due to encounters he'd had with the grey aliens back in his youth. He said that he says that ever since he has been menaced by these Men in Black for decades, saying, "They have let me know that I could be found wherever I was. What was said to me was threatening, and they have caused me to live in fear a lot of the time. I know the truth. My good close friends know the truth as well." On April 13th, 2014, he claims that he and a friend were followed by the mysterious strangers and that this time he managed to capture them on video staring directly at them. The day had started with Jack and his friend Jane going out for some sightseeing and lunch. They found themselves waiting for a streetcar at the French Quarter's Bainville Street station near Jackson Square. It was here where they would notice two weird-looking men dressed in stuffy black suits despite the hot weather at the time, standing there milling around at the station, and Jane would say of them and their behaviour, I knew something was wrong immediately. They looked like identical twins. They were slim and much taller than the average person. They were dressed in identical black suits, white shirts, skinny black ties, fedoras, and black sunglasses. They looked so odd, and they were pale. They were stiff, and they moved eerily in unison. They had oblong faces with a thin line for a mouth. Their whole vibe was cold and creepy. They were calm. But like how a reptile could appear calm. Twin lizards in suits? They leaned in simultaneously to commute with others. Their mouths opened slightly, but they were not talking. They were communicating something to one another, but not talking. And here's a picture of them. And they do look very odd. Staring right at the camera, and you can't see any hair even. The two strange men apparently waited there and repeatedly stared at Jack and Jane the entire time. But when the streetcar finally arrived after a 20-minute wait, the two men reportedly turned away and walked over to a shiny black car with a foreign license plate. The two then simply got into the vehicle and drove away. Jack had captured some of the encounter on his cell phone, and he would later relate to Jane what he thought they were. And although she was taken aback, and she had indeed seen it all herself, so there was no denying that these were not ordinary people. Eerily, Jack later sent her the video footage he had taken, but Jane's phone inexplicably deleted it, as well as all the data on her SD card, which the cell phone company was unable to explain. The mysterious video also supposedly deleted itself off another friend's phone when Jack attempted to send it. Jack would finally send it to the UFO grid, telling them, "The thought of giving the video to anybody scares the hell out of me, because when I tried to share it before, bad things happened. The thought of what could possibly happen to me if I did release this, I honestly do fear for my life. This experience is awful. I can't even begin to explain how awful it is. The very thought of stirring things up scares the heck out of me. I hope it can help someone that is struggling in silence because of the MIB harassment. Whoever these users are, MIBs, to keep us in fear, to control us, is despicable." Again, what does this strange footage show? There are certainly men dressed in black visible, but it's impossible to tell if they had anything off about them or if they are really the men in black or not. And therein lies the trouble with capturing photographic or video evidence of these mysterious individuals. They appear far more or less human, all but creepy looking, and any alleged photograph is difficult to assess, as it could very well be just some weirdos in black suits. There is absolutely no way can we really know what we are really seeing in such images. Nothing can mark it as truly outside of the explainable, and so banishing such evidence to the limbo of more speculation and rumour. Although, to be fair, if they are real, then it's probably exactly how they want it. Indeed, it's not even really been ascertained just what the men in black are actually supposed to be in the first place. They are surrounded by so much law and bizarreness that it's hard to say if they are agents from some secretive government organisation, a freelance cabal with their own inscrutable agenda, aliens themselves, something more paranormal in nature, or simply an elaborate and persistent urban legend. Reports of the men in black help matters little, as they are so varied and absolutely riddled with a myriad high strangeness. Just what are we even supposed to be dealing with here? To again quote my colleague Nick Redfern when asked what he thought that they were, He had said in the past, "My personal conclusion is that there are at least two things going on. There are the government-orientated MIB, and there are the other weirder MIB. As for the former, I proved in the book The Real Men in Black that some can be traced back to official agencies of at least several governments. As for those stranger MIBs, my personal view is that they are paranormal. Of course, much of this depends on how we define the paranormal. My personal view is that the MIB may be the inhabitants of multi-dimensions or extra dimensions that coexist with ours, and whose role is to keep us away from the truth about not just UFOs, but a whole range of strange phenomena too. But as for why, this is the big question that's still eluding us. Whatever the Men in Black are, they appear to be here to stay, and they invariably go hand in hand with the UFO phenomenon, whatever all that entails. Who are they? How are they linked to such oddities, and what their capacity is might likely be debated forever. But for those who have encountered them, they are at least very real. While these figures have mostly been confined to the realms of witness accounts with very little physical evidence, we are still left with these intriguing images. Are we really seeing the legendary Men in Black here? Is there any clue to be gleaned from these images and videos? Is it all, at least, a baffling piece of the Men in Black puzzle? And my question to everyone, has anyone witnessed a Man in Black encounter? Has anyone ever seen a UFO? It would be interesting if anybody has, and if you have, please leave your comments below.